Hey there, hail and welcome to the longest night and the calling in of the blessed light, blessed solstice. This is the launch of my YouTube channel, and this is the first day in my series, 12 Days of Yule, where you'll be learning about all things related to tarot and magic and witchcraft and wonder and welcome. In this video, we're going to be building an altar and learning about the power of intention setting. So stick around until the end because I'm going to share my top 3 manifestation accelerators. So, winter solstice, that's where we are now, the darkest night. Astronomically, this is what's happening. We are in the northern hemisphere and the sun reaches its southernmost point over the northern hemisphere. So we're at the furthest away from the sun that we can possibly be. In the southern hemisphere, you know, like places like Australia and New Zealand, they're having summer solstice. They're on the beach drinking margaritas, okay? Here in the northern hemisphere, we are having the winter solstice. They have the most daylight, we have the least daylight. Each day after winter solstice brings a little more light. It brings us incrementally towards the planting season, the time where we actually sow the seeds of generation into the soil and bring forth our new crops. This is the perfect time to offer deep gratitude, to really honor the lessons that we have learned, and to set powerful intentions for the upcoming year. And in fact, the upcoming decade. This is a moment, so do a thing. I want you to ask yourself, what are the lessons that you're grateful for? And I don't want you to make one of those regular gratitude lists where you just say, like, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head and food to eat, and blah, 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 blah. I really want you to ask yourself, what did you overcome during the last year? What did you fail at during 2019 and you learned from it? Who were the teachers or the practices that really enhanced your spiritual life during this last year? What losses offered valuable truths to you? So you're gonna make a list and then get ready to build your Yule altar. So the first thing I do when I build an altar is I clean and clear the space. Now, this is my little tea card that, this was the phone stand in my home growing up. And as a teenager, I spent a lot of time sitting next to this stand because we didn't have cordless phones back then. So my sister-in-law, Natalie, had this refinished last year for me for Yule, and I love to use it for altar building. So I'm just gonna ask you to clean and clear the space. I already sprayed mine and dusted it, but I have my little dust cloth, and I'm just gonna do a little clean and clear of the space, prepare it, you know, offer gratitude for the surface that you're working on. And then I want you to bless your space. I've included in the description below a PDF about your magical hands. Your hands are one of your finest magical tools. So if you're interested, go and read it. But I do the rubbing and then I say, I set my hands, and then I place my hands on the surface of the altar and I just breathe intention into this space. So I might say something like, I cleanse and consecrate this space I offer all that I am to the building of this altar. I call in my guides, my angels, my light beings, and my ancestors to hold this place holy and to bless all the workings. And, but you do you. You make your own blessing. You cleanse and consecrate in the way that you do it. I always put a candle in the center of my altar. I chose a black candle for the longest night. I thought that was apropos. You might want to do some other things like create a circle. Call in the 4 directions. Call in any deities that you're currently working with. I am going to place on the altar this little goddess from Brigid's Grove. I'm going to put a link for you because Molly Reamer's work is just incredible and you should meet her. But this is the goddess that I call by my own name, and she's been through a lot with me, so I'm going to place her on my altar for 2020, right in the center with my black candle. The other thing that I'm going to do for my solstice altar is I'm going to represent all the tarot tools and their corresponding directions, because tarot is my jam. And if you stay with me for very long, you're going to see that I use tarot cards for almost everything. So here's a cool tool. You can download a free compass on your phone and always know which direction is which. So we'll put a link to one in the description below, but really they're easy to find. Just search for compass and you'll get one. I already know the directions here because I have built many an altar in the SpiritWings space. So I'm going to start out in the east because that's always a good place to start, the place of new beginnings. The tarot suit that corresponds with the east is swords. And I have this little sword that I found on the floor of my house. I have no idea where it came from, but it's going in the east and it represents the element of air. In the south, I'm placing this little teeny tiny wand. Now, this was a stick that I found at one of Amy's and my favorite places, Gloucester. And it's just my teeny tiny wand and I love it. And I'm gonna put it in the south, element of fire. I also pilfered this little cup from Gloucester. And I'm placing this in the west, element of water, suit of cups, and it's going right here in the west. And then finally, I have this little coin, little bit of magic money for earth life. I'm placing that in the north, element of earth. And I feel like I've got a nice little flow of energy happening. I'm gonna add some things to my altar, and I wanna share that I'm adding more of the qualities that I don't have. So I have a lot of water in my astrological chart. So my cup is going to be the only thing in the west. I am Western Gate AF. And so the cup will stand alone. But you could also put seashells, you could put some sand, you could put any sort of weed from the sea. What is that? Seaweed, gosh. So you could put any sort of watery things over here in the west if you need more water in your life. What I tend to need is a little more air. I'm not as heavy on the air element in my natal chart. And we're gonna put a link to astroduct.com in the description. and you can find out your birth chart there. So air, I'm going to put a bell. This is wonderful for cleaning and clearing a space too. This bell was given to me by my wife, Amy, and I hold it very precious. I often ring it to call in prayer. And I'm gonna place that in the east. I also have a turkey feather. I use turkey feathers a lot in my magic. I like to use them to even direct energy through the air. I'm gonna draw a nice little infinity symbol and place it on my altar. I also need a little more fire, not too much, because I can tend to be a little fiery. But I have a little tiny dragon. This was gifted to me by my friend Stacy Ann. And I'm going to put that right in the south with my wand, element of fire. Breathe as fire, little dragon. That's for my daughters. And then I'm gonna put a couple of things in the north because my focus for 2020 is calling in prosperity and success and abundance and a little bit of protection. So I have this little jar of gold. This was gifted to me by my friend Judy, and I'm gonna place that in the north for prosperity. And then I have a little dried teasel that was harvested from our property, and I'm gonna put that in the north for protection. I also have with me for my Yule altar a little tree. And it's not gonna look like a Christmas tree because I'm pagan, I celebrate Yule. This tree is adorned with nothing except this little heart, and I'm calling in perfect love and perfect trust. So, as promised, let me tell you about my manifestation generators. These are the things that really put punch into your practice. I'm calling in success, abundance, growth in my business this next year. You might be calling in something different. So make sure it's represented on your altar. But here's my first manifestation acceleration trick. Daily altar devotions. All right. Yes, I do mean daily. And no, it doesn't have to take a ton of time. I want you to consider something as simple as lighting your candle and speaking out loud if you possibly can, even if you need to whisper. I want you to say the things that you're calling in. I want you to speak the names of your teachers. I want you to honor the lessons that you've learned. And I want you to do this every single day. Now, maybe you'll accept the challenge of doing this throughout the 12 days of Yule. So for today and for the next 12 days, you're gonna light the candle and do this practice. But I wanna challenge you to do a daily practice all the way until spring equinox, which is March 21st. And that's the day of balance of day and light. That's when we have just as many hours of sunlight as we have of nighttime. All right? So daily altar devotions are my number one manifestation accelerator. You know, and if you're able to, I would call things in loud and proud, you know. I want to make this much money every month this year. I want to align myself with the deity of Hecate and shed what no longer serves me so that I can make room for all this prosperity and abundance. You know, really take it seriously. Number 2, talk about your intentions in the present tense. So I am prosperous. I am successful. My YouTube channel will do fine. I don't have to be nervous about making stupid videos. I am sacred. I am goddess. I am God. I am the manifestation of the divine walking this earth life. Use I statements. You might even want to do the mantra or the Om of I am. Number 3. And here's where we get to have some fun because it's tarot. Use tarot cards to make magic on your altar. I have to show you today the tiny tarot. This is a universal Rider-Waite deck, but it is teeny tiny. And it's super perfect for my little tea cart altar because it doesn't take up a huge amount of space. Now, if you want to talk about the great manifester of the tarot deck, we are talking about the Magician. And I have the Magician here. All 4 tarot elements are available on his altar. Check it out. See that he has access to all the tools. She has dominion over all the energies. And I'm going to place that in the center of my tarot story for Yule. Then I am going to call in my guiding patroness of the tarot deck, the High Priestess. I'm going to sit her here right with my goddess that I call my own name. I am her, she is me, we are one, all is well. I actually do these things, you know, it really makes me feel good. So then I want you to think about what's going to go to the left of the Magician. So what are you leaving behind in 2019 that you do not wish to bring forward? And for me, that's the 5 of Pentacles. So any sort of scarcity mindset is being released. So I'm going to put it in its reversal, its upside down form. And then what I'm doing with that is that I'm rebalancing everything. So I called in Temperance. So this makes sure for me that I'm not gonna like make a pot of money and then spend it all in one place and not steward my resources well. I'm gonna release that scarcity mindset, and then I'm gonna call in balance. To the right of the Magician is where I want to put that which I'm calling in. And for me, centering around the work that I actually do, I am calling in the Empress and the Emperor in their upright essences. So the divine feminine and the sacred masculine in balance, working together as one. This is not, you know, like getting together with the things that you lack. This is about balancing the masculine and feminine energies for me in my soul space. That's part of my calling. It's part of my soul's contract. So that's going to be represented on my altar. Just in the immediate, I'm calling in the Wheel of Fortune. Upright. Because that's luck. That's like the fates smiling upon me. That is just sort of the cosmic blessing over the work that I'm doing. Now you're going to want to personalize this stuff for yourself. I love using the energy of the tarot to move the energy in the direction that I'm calling it in. This takes a little time getting together with your guides and saying, okay, what is our soul's contract? What is it that we're supposed to be doing? What is it that I want to do over the next year and the next 5 years and the next decade? It takes a little time, but you can get all the representation from that beautiful little 78 card deck that we call tarot. So I want you to consider joining our group, Tarot for Real Life, because that's where we kind of put the esoteric into practical, workable steps. And so maybe you're saying, I want to leave behind self-doubt and lack of confidence. And I want to call in a strong remembering of my authentic self. You go to our Facebook group, Tarot for Real Life, and you say, this is what I want to do. And all these people will jump in and say, oh, you might want to consider this card on the right side and this card on the left side, and back and forth. And with the help and guidance of other folks, you will be able to put together this magnificent Yule altar that represents the exact energy that you've got going on right now. So let me know in the comments if you're building an altar for this Yule season. Snap a picture of it if you want and take it over to Tarot for Real Life and post it and say, hey, I saw the YouTube video. Here's my Yule altar. And oh, by the way, I would love it if you talked about this, this, and this on your YouTube channel, because I really have been wanting to know about that. Let me know if you're doing daily altar devotions. You know, just if you want to make this commitment for the 12 days of Yule, or maybe you want to take on that bigger commitment of doing a daily altar practice every day until spring equinox. So this is just my thing for my altar. You always have dominion over your practice. Don't let anybody tell you that these are the rules and this is how you're supposed to do it. This is your time. This is your practice. This is your journey. Make it your own. Make it speak to your heart, because that is a powerful manifestation tool. So my friends, thank you for joining us for the first night in the 12 days of Yule. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you want to watch the rest of the series. Blessed be. Blessings to you and yours. Take this into the darkest night, and I'll see you tomorrow.